Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. This is so damn refreshing. I know it's only preseason. And by the way, I will only say that one time. So whenever you are listening and you hear something where you want to go, hold on, Brodes, calm down. It's a game that doesn't matter. Just remember, from the jump, from the start of this podcast, I made a general statement that this is only a preseason game. So I will discuss what happened. I will break down my takeaways, but do not blow this out of proportion and do not feel as if what I'm saying will automatically mean that this relates to regular season basketball. And if you are a follower of me for quite some time, you know I barely even value some things in regular season. So none of this automatically means boom, that these players are now going to be explosive in real NBA action. This is a preseason game. This is the disclaimer, and we move forward from here. We are broadcasting live, as always, from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. And the last thing before we really dive into the topic is this. I am giving away a 47 76ers hat on my Twitter. So what you need to do is head to Twitter, follow me at Brodes81. I have a pinned tweet at the top of my page. It's so simple. You need to follow me and retweet the tweet, which explains the giveaway, and you are entered to win. December 25th on Christmas, I will announce a winner. That's it. Simple. Easy. All right, let's dive into it. The starting lineup: Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. Am I shocked? Am I stunned? No. I didn't know what direction they would go, though. It wasn't an automatic that Danny Green and Seth Curry would both be in the starting rotation. Well, they elected to go with the veterans. And it was a no-doubter that the defense was a difference maker for this 76ers team. You saw a lot of action. You saw the willingness to work hard on the defensive side of the floor. I will say, when you are playing in your first game, whether it's a real game or not, you're playing in your first action that's not against your own team in a scrimmage. When you have a new coach, when you go through an offseason like the 76ers did, there will be a different level of urgency. There will be a different sense of urgency, and I thought that was the difference compared to a Boston Celtics team that understands they're without Tristan Thompson, without Kemba Walker. They're playing for Brad Stevens, who they have been playing with for quite some time. So the intensity from the start with both of these organizations and franchises, they are totally in two different scenarios. Although I did see Marcus Smart taking charges, stepping in front of Joel Embiid. Good for him. I got to give him praise. From someone who's willing to do that in the streets, at the local park, I got to appreciate him doing it in a game like this. This guy is an established grinder, not that he's only a grinder. Marcus Smart has developed in other areas, but he is a known pest, and it doesn't matter if it's the NBA playoffs or if it's preseason game one. He's willing to step in front of Joel Embiid. Good for him. You do got to recognize that and appreciate that type of work ethic throughout the way that he plays the game in general. So I saw a lot of dribble handoffs, which is funny. People hated the dribble handoffs because Brett Brown was obsessed with Joel Embiid, JJ Redick, and that combination throughout. You saw dribble handoffs. You saw pick and rolls, especially early on in the possessions. If it wasn't a fast break, you saw the big man looking to set a screen, looking to set a pick earlier when they're coming up the court. I liked what I saw from that. A lot of movement in terms of the players themselves and the ball. I saw a couple times Joel Embiid cut into the basket hard, and Ben Simmons with a nice pass to get Joel Embiid in rhythm going up to the basket. And Doc Rivers, after the game, stated that he was phenomenal. When you look at what Joel Embiid did, they ran certain aspects of their offense, but they never ran his stuff. And he still was able to get an impressive 18 points. So Doc Rivers loved what he saw out of Embiid. The fact that you weren't even really going to him like you are going to when games really start off, and he was casually being able to be effective the way that he was, and the ball was finding him. He really loved that aspect out of Joel Embiid. He only played the first half. You want to talk about conditioning? That's always a hot storyline with him. That's the headlines. You can't really tell, but you did see a lot of movement. You did see a lot of action. Took some threes. Once again, going back to the Brett Brown haters, park his ass on the block. Park his ass in the paint. That's something that a lot of old heads specifically like to scream about. He popped 4 threes. Even when he had a scenario where maybe he could have went into the paint, what did he do? He popped the threes. Doesn't matter who the coach is. That is what you're going to get in 2020 basketball. In this era, you're going to get the big man stretching the floor out and being willing to pop it, whether you like it or not. So you better get accustomed to that. Now, I'm not saying he's never going to post up. Of course, you're going to use Joel Embiid all over the floor. And you saw the difference in the spacing. You saw how teams needed to stay close to the perimeter, because if you are going to attack Joel Embiid down low, you have players who are able to actually knock down a shot, whether it's Danny Green, whether it's Seth Curry. They are able to do it. Even though the first half it was sloppy, you knew that was going to happen at some point. This is a new team, new players, new system. It's going to take some time for you to really be able to find your identity as an offense. But I thought in the first half, they weren't making a lot of shots, but they had a lot of good looks. And eventually, they would fall. You can live with good looks. And what happened in the second half? Well, those good looks actually started to get in the net. Same looks, executing. And that's when the Sixers kind of went on a run. But yes, defensively, it stood out to me that they were willing and that energy was there. I do think a big part of that, though, is, look, they're playing in their first action, not against their own team. I think that's big. Tatum struggled. Brown struggled. The Celtics struggled throughout, too. Now, is that because of the defense? Sure, I think that plays a role. Did you see what Tobias Harris did at the end of the first half on Jason Tatum out by the perimeter? Shut him down, and it was very solid. Forced Jason Tatum to take a shot right at the buzzer, but he made him work. He made him force one up, and Tobias did great there. Tobias, to me, I know that Doc Rivers spoke about making it simpler for him. Less dribbling, less thinking, attack, do your thing. Make it quick decisions. You could see the difference in when he did that and when he tried to do too much. When he tried to do too much, specifically offensively, a lot happening, congested, not smooth. But when he was quick on the trigger, when he knew what he was going to do, whether it was catching and shooting or attacking instantly, you got better results. So I saw some ugliness that we saw last year out of Tobias Harris, but I also saw what Doc Rivers is talking about when it comes to the game coming to Tobias Harris, where you don't need to overthink. You don't need to overanalyze. Do the simple basketball play. Be quick with the mental side of the game, and you will get good results. So hopefully you continue to drill that through Tobias, and that will eventually be who he is. That is exactly what he becomes, because he is constantly going to change the way that he develops the game. And at the speed of the game is coming to him, he's able to adjust into this simpler player. Let's get to Shake Milton. Wow. Now, I will admit, when Doc Rivers was talking about Shake Milton throughout, 6-man, he can score, I did not jump quickly on that, as if I was not supporting Doc Rivers instantly. I looked at Shake Milton last year, and to no fault of his own, I thought he was thrown into a situation, but he was too raw. Now, he had an awesome performance, whether it's a fadeaway to the right or a step-back mid-range jumper or taking a three-pointer with confidence. He looks like an awesome player. And I'm not just basing this off of a preseason game. I'm basing this off of what I saw before. I liked the skill set of Shake Milton, but I also realized that he was raw, G League player, two-way contract, getting thrown into this fire last year, postseason. I liked what I've seen out of Shake Milton to this point in the 76ers uniform, but I wasn't willing to scream, this guy is Lou Will, and I'm still not. Because for me, I need a lot to be convinced. I'm not someone who's just going to jump right on it and say, this is special. Similar to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had an awesome game. That doesn't mean Jalen Hurts is this forever. Carson Wentz went through a great stretch of games in 2017. Doesn't mean that's him forever. So I need more time to really be convinced that Shake Milton is going to be a lethal weapon. Do I see the intangibles? Absolutely. Do I see the skill set and the confidence and the control and the willingness to not force things? Yes, I'm absolutely acknowledging that. I loved what I saw out of him. If he can do that consistently, hell yes. I could see him being a sixth man. You could argue maybe even a starter because I don't know if they're truly committed to Seth Curry and Danny Green automatically being thrown into the starting rotation. I think they're willing to try things out. So I'm just saying, if Shake Milton balls and he's someone who can actually get you a bucket consistently, then sure, I think that there's plenty of roles for him to be able to grow and bloom into and blossom into. I just take a while to be convinced of something. I don't jump on the action as soon as I see one shining moment. Jeremy Lin had some shining moments, and this isn't to knock the guy. I'm just playing the other side. This is why I feel the way that I do. I've seen players have stretches, and that doesn't ultimately mean that they are now some stud in the league. Takes a while for me to get convinced, but I loved it. I loved what I saw out of him. The first bench action that we saw, Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz. Doc, after the game, mentioned that he liked some things that Furkan Korkmaz did, but it won't show up on the stat sheet. Oh, you know how I feel about Furkan Korkmaz. He'll get you some points. He's got a role in regular season basketball towards the end of the bench, but the guy can't play in the postseason. So when he makes a play, everyone's like, bro, you're an idiot. Did you see the guy? Did you see the guy last year where he couldn't sniff a minute in the postseason because he's not athletic enough and he gets abused defensively? Yeah, I saw that too. And I don't think that that's changing. But the first rotation, Shake, Furk, Ben, Tobias, Dwight. I thought Dwight played hard for being a veteran in his mid-30s coming over here from LA. I thought he competed at a high level. I was very impressed with just his work ethic in this type of game. His motor in this style. Grabbing rebounds. If he's going to be able to be last year's version of himself, you got the best backup you've ever had in the Joel Embiid era. And look at that contract too, may I add. That's where you tip your cap to Daryl Morey for being able to get him and acquire him on that type of deal. It's pretty magnificent. Now, you saying this is the best backup of the Joel Embiid era, is that praising Dwight Howard, or is that just ripping apart your other options in Amir Johnson, Jonah Bolden, Norvell Pell? I think it's a little bit of both. I think that's fair to say. It could be both. You could be looking at Dwight Howard and say he is solid in that role. And you can also look at the nightmares that you've seen over the last couple of seasons and say, oh yeah, hold on a second. I think that that is also true. I'll get to Ben Simmons in a second because he was in that first bench rotation, and I have a thought on what I saw out of him. But first, I need to tell you about my friends at DraftKings. DraftKings has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Listen to this deal. It's outrageous. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when signing up. Download the app right now and sign up using promo code BRODES, BRODES. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So with Ben Simmons, did I see very similar play that I have over the last handful of years? Yes. In this game, yes, I did. A couple passes where he leaves his feet, but you did see that baby hook. You saw a nice take to the basket, a nice layup when he was attacking. Would I like to see more? Sure, no doubt about it. But I think I saw a guy who, as the primary ball handler and someone who's going to be getting his teammates open looks, I think that he really tried to get his guys going, to try and get Seth Curry going, to try and get Danny Green going. I thought that he was really focusing on that side of the offense early in the game. Now, in the second half, where you saw less of the starters, you saw him go in a different mode, and you saw his philosophy change. But ultimately, I wasn't believing in. Now, here's the thing. There were a lot of reports about Sam Cassell, what he was bringing to the table and helping out Ben Simmons when it came to taking jumpers and shooting the basketball. I'm over the hype of that. Every single video, every single picture, every single, you name it, report that comes out about Ben Simmons and the shooting, I think he is working on the shot. To think he's not working on the shot is just asinine, and you're being irrational. Because I know it's not at the pace that we like it, but there are clear signs of the jump shot improving over his career. If you look at a handful of seasons ago and you look at him now, there is a difference. I know that it's not at the pace that we would love for it to be at, but it is getting better. But for these reports about him working on it with the coaching staff, I'm over that. I'm not jumping into that. I'm not getting the blood boiling for that. I'm not believing in that. I just showed you how when I look at Shake Milton, I don't go to the, oh yeah, Shake Milton instantly. I got to be convinced. Well, I am at that point for Ben Simmons. There were times where I did fall for it. There were plenty of times, a lot of times. Fool me one time, shame on me. Fool me 2 times, shame on me. Fool me 7 times, shame on me. Shame on me all the way around. Let's be realistic. But it's past that point. Show me, prove it to me. Do I think he's ready now? No, I don't. Will he be this season? I really hope so. I really hope that he takes in all the information that he's learning with Sam Cassell, and eventually we will see. He's never going to be this high-volume guy, though. For anyone screaming that he needs to be this three-point shooter, will there be a time where he takes it in his career? I do believe at one point it will finally click, but it's not going to be to this crazy degree where he's walking up to the line and willingly letting it fly. I just never think that that's going to be him. Naturally, it won't. But he does need to find a way to do it. So I tie this back to Brett Brown. Well, he never forced him to shoot. Well, neither's Doc Rivers. Pretty blatant about that. Well, I don't care if he shoots. That was the statement. Was that the right way to approach it? Maybe, maybe not. It shows you where the error is. This is how it is around the league. This is how coaches handle these type of situations. They baby the players. If he came in all hard-ass, would you see a different result? Would you see a quicker result? Maybe. I'd be willing to try, to be honest with you. Because, allowing him to just do what he wants to do, you're most likely not going to get it. But it's just something that will not go away. That topic will not go away, and it doesn't deserve to. But overall, looking at Ben Simmons and his game, I could say underwhelmed in this, but at the end of the day, it's not that meaningful. But I saw similarities that I've seen throughout, which is really looking to facilitate and leaving the floor when trying to make a pass, jumping up off his feet, getting stuck in midair, but finding a guy. He did have some nice passes as well. So just something to kind of look at when it comes to Sam Cassell and the story about him and Ben working together. You didn't really see much of that. Keeping it on that first rotation, though, with the bench. We were really accustomed to Joel Embiid getting out of the game early, and some might rip Brett Brown for that. Others, I saw some reports earlier throughout about, well, there were a lot of analytics in play, and we heard that. Whether you listen to Keith Pompey of the Inquirer break down what happened when they went with this new regime, it was very documented that they went extremely, extremely heavy on analytics, and there were so many people involved that shouldn't have been. Scott O'Neal, Cohen, you name it. So many individuals up top had a lot to say with this organization's decisions. Was it Brett making those decisions? We just don't have that information. And I do know that the fingerprints were involved by people that shouldn't have been. So everything's on the table. But we were so used to seeing Embiid be out a handful of minutes into the game. You saw something different here. Is that going to be how Doc Rivers operates moving forward long term? Well, you can look at what he has done throughout his NBA career, and it doesn't look like it was anything close to the approach they went with in the past with Brett Brown. So you saw more action, more run in the first quarter from the starters. That could be because he wants these players to run up and down the floor, to get some conditioning going, to just get that vibe of, hey, we're going up and down the court with a different pace. Or it could be that's the way that he wants to handle his rotation and the minutes. But that's something I looked at heavily here, and that's something that I will look heavily into on Friday as well. I hate the fact that there's so many damn days in between games, though. I've been watching all these other teams get into their games, and it felt like I had to wait 73 days until the first Sixers preseason game, and now you're giving me a big block in between? Can't handle this. I can't handle this. I need as much as possible. I need the Eagles to get out of my mind. Although now you can argue that they're one of the most hottest conversations there is. But still, they were so frustrating. They were so defeating. They were so demoralizing that I need as much Sixers conversation as I can get because it's new. It's fresh. You got to hit the refresh button. You know? Got to hit the refresh button. I'm just looking at some other notes that I wrote down here. Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle looked overwhelmed. I was really expecting him to maybe take a step in his game when it comes to the offensive side. That's going to be the difference in him getting legit minutes or not. He's going to have to adapt to this league offensively. He's going to have to be able to space that floor out more. He looked all over the place. He looked like he was thinking too much, put a lot of pressure on himself, but that was not the Matisse Thybulle that I anticipated seeing. I thought that he would defend, and his defense will naturally allow him to get involved in the game offensively, or, you know what, even if he didn't provide much of a spark offensively, his defense would be good enough. But he was all over the map. Something was off with Matisse Thybulle. And he was the most underwhelming of the night, without a doubt. Someone not underwhelming was Maxey. Did you see what he did in the floater game? It's almost as if he's unstoppable with that floater. Getting some space, coming around, ball handling, dribbling, amazing. Finds a spot on the floor, boom. Little runner, little floater. And how about the Euro step to start things off? Doc Rivers said that he's probably going to be pushing for minutes. These Kentucky players, they come into this league differently. And that's something I mentioned when you looked at the Kentucky guards coming out of Calipari. What'd you have? Booker, John Wall, Fox. These kids can play. They're coached. Doc really emphasized that. That stood out to me when talking about Maxey. These guys are coached differently when they go to these programs. I loved it. He started off by dishing the rock, making plays happen with the passing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's Euro step into the basket. He's getting space. He's working in space. He's getting that floater. Boom. He could have had one more, but it was a little strong. But damn, am I encouraged by what I saw out of Tyrese Maxey. There were people questioning, did the 76ers get the steal of the draft? How did he fall that far? The kid's got a unique skill set. He can play. And I'm just not used to hearing all of this great positivity on Sixers on draft night. Because they were talking about Daryl Morey, and I'm talking about, the coverage. And the broadcast at the time, oh, look at what the Sixers did. Jay Will was in love. From not just what they did on draft night, but what they did prior, moving off from Horford, Seth Curry, Green. Get rid of Richardson. Bringing in Doc Rivers. It was almost like I felt uncomfortable knowing that people felt so highly of the Sixers organization and the direction that they were headed. Now, it makes sense that people felt that way, but still, it made me feel a little queasy inside and wheezy inside because, well, this isn't normal. This isn't normal. Until it becomes normal. Is that what we're witnessing here? Are we watching the process of this all becoming normal? Some other random notes. I saw this play at one point, and this is what just describes, this would happen in regular season as well, but this just describes what type of game that was for Jason Tatum. At one point early on, well, it had to be at least once the Sixers went to the bench because Furkan Korkmaz was out there. It was Jason Tatum on Furkan Korkmaz at the three-point line. And think about that. Jason Tatum could abuse that matchup with ease. It's not even funny what he could do to Furkan Korkmaz. And he just casually wanted to pull up, take a three, didn't make it. Postseason ball. That matchup gets destroyed, and it's an easy 2 at will if Furkan doesn't foul him. If Furkan fouls him because he can't keep up, and one, and the foul. But I just started laughing because if I'm Tatum in that scenario, whether it's a preseason game or not, I'm hitting him with a couple jabs, steps, and I'm attacking the rim. I'm making this kid look silly. Furkan Korkmaz on me? Really? That's what I would do if I'm Jason Tatum. I love Tatum, though, man. The kid is a killer. He really is. He balls. I love watching the kid play. He's an animal. I just enjoy athletes for what they are, who they are. I have some hate the faces out there. Hell, some of them are actually in the Philadelphia city themselves. Some guys just irritate me. And there's others outside of the city. But Jason Tatum, he's not really a hate the face for me. I embrace his skill set. I love watching him ball out. It's almost like a stab to the Sixers throughout that time period. And I'm willing for them to have the pain. Everything always ties back to the Eagles. I'm almost enjoying that the Eagles are feeling pain between Carson Wentz and the Jalen Hurts drama because, well, they did this to themselves. Well, with Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum, while no one could have imagined in a million years that Markelle Fultz would forget how to play basketball, just like Carson Wentz, let's be realistic. But during that time of the Sixers era, Brian Colangelo making the trade, Sam Hinkie being gone, I almost want the Sixers to feel the pain because they did this to themselves. I don't know if I'm a weirdo, if I'm a psychopath for having that type of mentality, but I do. You know what is not for psychopaths? Manscaped. I don't even think that related at all. That could have been a horrendous transition there. But listen up, fellas. 2020 sucked. And it's almost a new year, which means new balls with our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men all over the world get rid of the hair on their balls. They have the Perfect Package 3.0 that has all the right tools. The Lawnmower 3.0, it's waterproof with skin-safe trimmer technology. They also have the Crop Preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer, the Crop Reviver ball toner spray, the Shed travel bag, the anti-chafing boxer briefs. A guy with hairy balls is like the year 2020. Don't be that guy. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Mike Scott. What's Mike Scott's role going to be? Doc did touch on this prior to the game. I am looking at Mike Scott to be some sort of piece. Now, if you look at the bench, let's start from Shake Milton, because let's just assume, because we saw it in this game, the starting five is what it is. Well, when you look at the bench, you have Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz, you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Dwight Howard. Who else am I missing? between those four is, I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Yeah. Matisse Thybulle, Mike Scott. So it's pretty deep when you look at the people. It's pretty deep. What's Mike Scott's role going to be? Well, if you look at the 4 position, which is where he would play, I would imagine, he can play the 5. He has played the 5 at times, but I would imagine bringing in Dwight Howard would only limit that opportunity for him. So when you look at the 4, you have Ben Simmons, who can obviously play the point forward, and you have Tobias Harris. Outside of those 2, well, I think you have an opportunity for Mike Scott to be able to snag some minutes. Now, he's going to have to be a way better version of himself than we saw last year. Last year, it was very underwhelming. I expected way more out of the veteran. He can provide spacing. He gives you that grit. He has that attitude. He has that screw you mentality. If someone's going to foul hard and play on that line, play on that edge, it's going to be Mike Scott, and I do think that that's something that this team needs. Now, Ben and Joel Embiid, they definitely do have some attitude to them. If Ben makes a monster jam or makes a big play, you'll see a flex. You'll see these guys play with that swag and attitude, but I think Mike Scott brings it to another level. I see a deeper bench. I just wonder, will Mike Scott be able to crack into a role? Because I do sense that he's in this weird area right now. He's in that weird gray area. Will he be able to earn himself some sort of significant role? Significant might be a strong word, but a nice role for this team with the players that they have. And I talk about this energy, right? And I talk about this attitude. Well, there's no doubt about it that fans add to that. Joel Embiid is the perfect example. The dude thrives off of the crowd. When he's at home and he's circling up to his ear, doing a little Hulk Hogan, or he's pointing with an and one and he's raising the roof to the crowd, that's a big part of who he is as a player. Now, they played in the bubble without this crowd before. So it's not as if this is the first time they're experiencing it. If anything, it might feel more normal because they're in actual arenas and they're at the Wells Fargo Center. They're driving up to the complex. So it might feel more normal than, let's say, the bubble where you're quarantined in hotel rooms all the time. But from a player standpoint, how is that going to impact this team, specifically their best player, Joel Embiid, who lives off of that? Really, the bench is going to have to be big. And I'm not talking about the on-court production. I'm talking about rallying. I'm talking about being the energy. I'm talking about clapping the hands. You're going to have to create your own momentum swings. You're going to have to be able to create your own run. And that's going to be big for the bench guys to do that just based off of, let's go, fellas. Yeah, here we go, boys. You know, you got to have that. You got to have that juice. And for what it is, I thought it was there tonight. Well, it's easy to have it when it's your first go with this new coach. There's that different level of urgency that's involved when you get such a big statement, a powerful message. Do I dare do this again? Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. You bench your quarterback. You have Jason Kelce calling out the entire organization. Powerful message. Well, it's not ironic that the entire team played well. Defensive line, some secondary pieces, wide receivers, offensive line, quarterback, running back. Everyone stepped up because there was this huge sense of urgency switch. Well, the same could be said about Doc Rivers in this. And he kind of alluded to it afterwards. You know, it's easy now, but can this be sustainable? Can this be something that happens, this energy, when you get stuck in a little bit of a funk? When your team is playing ball and you're more into this 72-game season that they're playing this year and they're a couple months in and you get stuck. You don't play as great. Will you be able to keep that life available? And, I think it's a great question, without a doubt. Now, a little tiny things to just throw in there. Isaiah Joe airballed the first shot attempt. You saw the bench, speaking of the bench, in that one get all hyped for the shot, and when it was the airball, it's more of a, okay, Joe, Isaiah Joe, all right, dude, you'll get the next one. But here's what I liked. He wasn't afraid in a possession real shoot because he got the ball and he let it rip. He let it fire. And that shows me, hey, Put it behind you. You airballed your first shot, who gives a damn? Catch, gets a shot opportunity, willing to pop it. Now, he didn't make it, but it was a lot closer. It was a good shot attempt, and it just shows me I'm looking at the mental side of the game for him. Not afraid on a possession real quick after just airballing. I saw Danny Green. He was the one on the bench kind of giving him the, hey, don't worry about it, kid. And there was that story about Danny Green being that leader off the court. When he was speaking and when he was talking to the media via Zoom, he said he knows his role here. He's really focused on what he's going to be able to provide from a leadership standpoint off the court. I love that. Now, some of me looked at it, and this could just be the way that I view things, and I said it's possible I'm a psychopath before, so I think it's reasonable to then look at this topic and maybe apply that to this as well. Him saying, no, he's really focused on the off-the-court stuff. Well, don't let that take you away from on the court, Danny, because we still need you hitting those threes. We still need you providing that spark. And wow, how did it take me this long to bring up the fact that Danny Green defensively early, whether it's on the back end, here he is behind the play, poking the ball back into the Sixers' hands, and we're going back the other way. Defensively, he was all over the place. Now, do I expect him to steal the ball at the rate that he did tonight? No. But it's nice to know that, one, he's willing to do it at his age. Not that I ever questioned that. And two, it's still there. Because that is a part of what he brings on the court. It's not just about the three-point shooting. He can defend. Just won 2 championships in a row. For all the guys who just destroyed the pick because it's Danny Green because he had a rough patch last season, let's not pretend like the guy flat out blows. Some felt that way. And I thought that was so irrational. Real quick, let's hear from my last sponsor, who's been with me from the start, Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial. If you're looking to provide any sort of upgrade to your home, whether it's an electrical upgrade, a new roof, water purification systems, backup energy services, you name it, Orbit Energy and Power is the place to go. Their information is down below in the description, and their phone number as well. They do fantastic work, and I guarantee that. That was fun. I'm not going to lie to you. I just had a great time breaking down some Sixers action. Just like they're in the preseason, I'm in the preseason as well. It's always an adjustment after going without basketball for so long and jumping back into the conversation. Right now, I'm so into football, that switching and making that quick adjustment to some hoops talk, I'm in preseason as well. I'm in preseason mode. So this is a nice way to get back into the groove. I missed out on Mark Zumoff, though. I'm not going to lie. He's recovering from back surgery, and I did mention this on a few podcasts ago when talking about the Sixers. I had him lined up to jump on the show, and because of the back surgery, we had to push it back, and we are going to reschedule. So I just want to throw that out there because I want you to be aware, be on the lookout, that I will be rescheduling that podcast with Mark Zumoff, so that will be so much fun to have him on the show. We know what Tom McGinnis does. He does a great job on the radio, and to hear him on the TV, he stepped in and did A+. It's funny, though, because I'm so used to hearing him go solo, having conversations with himself. He kills the game solo on the radio. For him to have to adjust and have somebody else with him, I'm sure it was not hard for him to do, but it's different. Without a doubt, when you're used to doing it solo all the time, you get thrown a color commentator and well, you gotta have to go with a different flow. But I thought he did an excellent job. I just miss Mark Zumoff. Mark Zumoff. You go to NBC Sports Philadelphia, you get Mark Zumoff. Gotta go with the local feed, right? Gotta go with the local feed. All right, thank you all so much for listening. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. How about that? Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.